Hi everyone. While we were in Cyprus recently, we stayed in the Kissos Hotel in Paphos, and here is my review. And here we go with our first look at the room. So first thoughts, it looks nice and clean. It's basic, it's not too small. The balcony looks out over the pool, and I think that's the restaurant down there. And then just a little bit further away, there's a bar. And by the looks of things, there's a second swimming pool over there, which I wasn't expecting. And then an interesting view through the middle of everyone else's balconies. Not too loud here, though we're not too far from the road, and there's a few restaurants around, including the ever-important McDonald's. And then coming into the bathroom, there's a sink and a mirror and a toilet and a funky looking shower. Traditional shower. Bit of broken glass. I have to be careful not to touch that. The ever important toilet, which looks nice and clean. And me! So it's pretty basic, but it looks okay overall, so that's fine. To use the cliche, the most important thing is we just want a nice clean place to sleep. There's lots of restaurants nearby. That's good enough for us. We didn't want to go somewhere super expensive because we've got another big holiday coming up in a few months' time. Good morning, I've just woken up. It's the first proper day of the holiday. The sun's up, it's already so bright I'm squinting despite sitting in the shade. So as you hopefully realised, we are in Cyprus. Specifically, we are in Pafos. Pafos is one of the big tourist destinations, and you can tell there's lots of stuff around. We are in a hotel called the Kissos Hotel. First impressions, it's really quite basic. It's clean enough, but it's definitely a no frills kind of place. We've got a tiny little balcony, which is where I'm sitting just now, and we're just about to go down and have some breakfast, so I will show you that as well. The location seems pretty good with a few things around. In fact, last night we went and we sat in a bar for some food because we arrived quite late. There's already a few folks sitting out by the pool. I must say, looking at the pool this morning, it definitely looked a lot better in the dark than it does in the daylight. But if you're just after a bit of sun, then it's perfectly adequate. Anyway, dressed, time for breakfast. Here I am at the smelly restaurant. First impression of the buffet, there's almost nothing on there that I consider to be edible. I think I might actually lose a bit of weight this holiday. On the plus side, they do have coffee in tiny little cups. And they have thimble size orange juice glasses. And that's possibly the worst coffee I've ever tasted as well. Just a quick look at the food. There's eggs and porridge. Doesn't that look yum? Omelettes, beans, slightly undercooked sausages, slightly squishy looking, just generic green vegetables. I think the eggs are the nicest thing on the buffet line. I think I'll probably be living on those for the week. A random iced cake thing, reconstituted bacon with potato chips and mini croissants. This pool area is much nicer than the other bit, and look at this behind me, bananas. I always find it super weird to see bananas growing on trees. I don't know why, because I know that that's where they come from, but it's so strange to see it in real life, because normally you only ever see them yellow and fully ripe and sitting in supermarkets. The most important things on any holiday is making friends with all the local cats. And the hotel even has a mini golf course, which is clearly very well maintained. Just outside it looks like there's some spontaneous aqua aerobics going on. We're off for an early dinner down in the hotel restaurant. We're going down there early simply because breakfast was so bad that there's a fighting chance we might not be able to eat food in there, and we might have to go out for dinner in a restaurant elsewhere. Or we might be pleasantly surprised. Let's wait and see. So we did eat in the restaurant in the end, and actually it wasn't too bad. I wouldn't go so far as to say the food was tasty. In fact, it was pretty awful, but it was kind of edible and it wasn't too awful. Overall, I suppose I give it a good solid 2 stars. 1 star would be inedible and 3 stars would be okay. The food was apparently Mexican themed tonight, although it was just your sort of typical hotel buffet line, nothing particularly nice. Nothing particularly Greek either. We started off with a tomato soup, which sort of tasted like passata really, so not really soup. Then there were a selection of unlabelled salads, not ideal if you had any sort of allergies or anything. Tamsin's vegetarian, so it was quite difficult for her to be able to tell which one of the cold dishes was vegetarian. Lots of different meats for all the main courses, although all the meat was generally just pork in different shape and different coloured sauces. And then the desserts were the sort of typical hotel line things, various different colours of sort of gelatinous slop. So there's a choice between the chocolatey looking slop and the white coloured slop. I'm a huge fan of desserts, so I chose not to have any and just have some water instead. Anyway, now we're going to go out to one of the bars for a cocktail, or perhaps 2 cocktails, and then maybe a sleep because I'm really tired. This morning I thought I'd get up early and go for a swim before breakfast, but it looks like I've been thwarted on that particular plan. It looks like they're doing the pool cleaning, so I can't really go in. Also, even though it's not particularly busy by the pool, there's already people that have dumped their towels on their sunbeds by the poolside. I don't know if anyone else gets really irritated by this. Wouldn't it be a massive shame if some of those towels by the pool fell in somehow? I'm also just getting a little bit irritated by how small the balcony is. Another really rubbish thing about the hotel is the key system. Between the 2 of us, we only get 1 key. It's tied up to the lights. There's one of those little things that you have to slot in to turn the power on in the room, and that's physically attached to the key, and nothing else can be used in there instead. What that means is if there's 2 of you travelling, you're both tied together effectively. One person can't go out without leaving the other person completely in the dark in the room, or without having a key and then having to knock on the door to get back in. I know that doesn't sound like a huge problem, but Tamsin's feeling a little bit under the weather, and last night I was desperate to go out and just sit by the bar and relax for a little bit. Of course, she didn't really feel much like it and just wanted to stay in and sleep. In fact, she'd been quite poorly. She'd been sleeping most of the day, so I was getting a little bit of cabin fever. I could hear the music in the background, but I couldn't get to the bar even though I could see it. I found myself completely trapped in the room, not really able to leave the balcony, which is tiny, or I'd have had to leave the key behind, which would have meant that when I came back I'd have had to pound on the door and wake her up even though she's feeling poorly. So that meant that the evening was ruined for both of us. Another thumbs down there then, unfortunately.
Sunshine when she's gone, and she always gone too long. Anytime she goes away,
Following morning, I choose everything edible on the breakfast menu. Unfortunately, there's a lot less choices for vegetarians. Bring your own milk. Now it's just time for a quick kitty cat cuddle and a quick tour of the hotel. Right by the pool there's a little shuffleboard set or something like that. I'm not entirely sure because nobody actually used it the entire time we were there. Next to that there is a chessboard, and I don't think anyone used that one either, but it's quite cute. And just beyond that is the second pool. Now let's head back on ourselves towards the main reception. First of all, going past the bar and down past the second outdoor buffet area where they serve lunch before heading back into the building. This is what the main dining room looked like when it was empty. I'd love to be able to tell you that it looked a little bit less like a prison canteen when it was up and running, but sadly it didn't. It didn't get any better under any circumstances that we saw. Thankfully, some of the staff were quite nice though. Not many of them unfortunately, but at least one or two were really lovely and did make the effort. Just outside the canteen there was a little bar area which never got used the whole time that we were there. I actually found it quite sad to look around there because it had the feeling of an old hotel that was once glamorous when it was in its prime, but now just looks a little bit sad and old. And now into the reception area. There's not really a great deal to say about this. There's a reception, there's chairs, the staff were nice enough. It also had a little shop at the side, an overpriced set of luggage weighing scales, some more chairs, and a weird sort of spiral staircase which didn't seem to lead to anywhere. Outside the hotel there was a road, just like any other road, which led in one direction towards the beach in a very roundabout way, and in the other direction it led towards a few pubs and restaurants and that sort of thing. Just down the corridor from the reception was a games room which was furnished with a bewildering choice of recreational games. Try not to feel overwhelmed by the expansive choices available to customers. This is the conference room. It's functional, and I suppose that's really all you want in a conference room, so nothing really to say positive or negative about that. If you then need to feel virtuous after a boozy afternoon by the pool, you can head down the corridor towards the gym. Despite the 1980s feel, the gym was actually quite spacious and gave the feeling that once upon a time it was probably really impressive. Of course, it now looks more like a movie set for a teen slasher movie, so I decided not to push my luck and stay there too long. There was also an indoor swimming pool, though this was completely locked off. Now time to beat a hasty retreat before the Elm Street gentleman who struggles to pick his nose safely decides to pop in and say hello. Now I think it's time to quickly explore the outside of the hotel. There is a tennis court, though thankfully it's locked, just in case any of the hotel residents experience a sudden, dangerous and overwhelming urge to play tennis. The hotel also has a children's play area. As you can see, the facilities are absolutely fit for royalty and the excited kids just can't keep away. Now over to the mini golf course. As you can see, the debris on the course has been removed since the beginning of our stay. The course has a certain charm which is known among architectural circles as builder's site chic. And there you have it, the Kissos Hotel Cyprus in all of its glory, or in glory. The positives were the close location to the airport and the price. The hotel was mostly clean and very convenient. There were also lots of stray cats to stroke. Top of the list of negatives was the food, which was barely edible. There were very few concessions to alternative dietary options such as vegetarianism. I imagine that individuals with allergies would also struggle hugely. Also, anyone who wants to eat a meal without feeling like someone's trying to poison them might find the menu just a little bit challenging. Many of the staff weren't great and bordered on rude. The antiquated system of having a single key between two people, which was required for the lights, was somewhat frustrating. The hotel was also very old and well past its prime. All in all, the hotel would make a great location for a cheap holiday in the sun, but I would strongly recommend avoiding the inclusive food and considering visiting local restaurants instead. 2 stars.